Relax and breathe is something I feel really, really strongly about. Um, just because it's something you can do to handle overwhelm, to get back in control if you're feeling kind of tense, stressed, anxious, panicky. Um, and the key to it is just really simple practice. So it is about keeping it as simple. And as I say here, all it's about is slowing down your breathing and then getting rid of any tension so that you're not holding on to it in your jaw, in your shoulders, in your hands. There's no kind of nervous energy tapping because that's a sign that you've got kind of adrenaline in your system. So, certainly from a day-to-day perspective, being able to use this is really good for managing work, for managing kids, for just keeping you a bit more balanced. But from a pregnancy, birth prep perspective, it's really valuable. And one of the comments that can be made about focusing on your breathing is that it's not going to be effective enough. And well, I already know how to breathe. And you do, but it's about how connected are you with how you breathe and how you carry your tension. Because what happens is life's busy. You're used to rushing around. You're used to experiencing and feeling a certain level of stress. That's actually what's familiar. And then that gets carried into labour with you, but it's just not that helpful. So it can be really useful to have a really quick tool to be able to just let go of that tension and to slow your breathing down. And that's it. You don't have to learn a different way of breathing. It's just connecting with how you breathe and how you can relax your body. So all you're doing is breathing in as deeply as you can. That's different for every pregnant woman because of the size of your bump and how much lung capacity you've got. So don't force it. And then a long, gentle out breath for as long as you can. Pause, breathe in again. And you just practice how to do that until it becomes familiar and until you don't have to necessarily think about how to do it. So, for relaxing your body, as you're breathing out, you're relaxing your jaw, your shoulders, your hands, your pelvic floor, and your legs. And you're just relaxing them, but also making them still. And then just let your focus be on your breathing. And then when it comes to working with contractions, you could breathe normally in between contractions. And then with contractions, just really focus on keeping those muscles as relaxed as possible. You might not always be Zen-like. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying it's about having an alternative to maybe carrying tension and having that kind of closed, tight body that's greeting contractions. If you feel overwhelmed, if you feel anxious, if you feel panicky, if the pain feels like it's too much, let your focus be on your breathing. Let me just stop sharing this. And the key to this is just to practice it as much as you can in pregnancy so it becomes familiar, because in labour, we're more likely to use what's familiar because that's what's safe, even if it's not necessarily something that's good for us all the time. It's just about what's familiar. So if in pregnancy you can focus on your breathing several times throughout the day, so just for a minute or so at a time, so maybe every time you go for a wee, or when you put the kettle on, or just something that happens regularly. I quite like the wee idea, and feedback from women's really positive about that, because that's something that they're doing with quite, with enough regularity throughout the day, but also It's getting them to connect with their body as it's relaxing. And those are the muscles that you're relaxing when you're in labor and when you're birthing. So if you're doing it with every wee or every time you're going to the loo, that's often enough throughout the day that quite quickly that becomes familiar. Whereas things like focusing on your breathing in yoga classes, hypnobirthing classes, whatever is really useful. Again, feedback I get from women is that they just do that in a class and they haven't connected it with their body, or like just it hasn't become as familiar as they would like. So just bring it in short bursts every day, and that's how you're using it in labor as well. And if you want to have a period where you're doing it for longer chunks, then that's great. But if not, then just the short bursts, that's all you need to be able to do that, so that it does really quickly become familiar.